Alright, I feel mostly warmed up, so let's see if I can pull this off. I'd like to first off by saying thank you to these cards. We had half of a conversation before we dove into this, and I did get agreeance. I got frustration because things have gone awry since they and I last talked, but I got agreeance. But after this, there has to be certain respects paid. However, they have accepted and will agree to be an example of the Rider-Waite Tarot as I go through an explanation of the major and minor arcana on video. Tarot's difficult, okay? We'll call this the preset, the explanation of tarot. Video, let's do it this way, video 0017. Pre-show for the major and minor arcana. Tarot itself is a structured system. If a deck is working with a major arcana of approximately 22 cards and a minor arcana, approximately of 4 suites, each one approximately 14 cards, you are working with a tarot deck. And whether the imagery changes, whether the theme changes, if that core box pattern exists, it is a tarot deck. The reason for this is tarot works with the structured system and the structured representation to sort of reach out and branch out over all the major aspects and elements that exist within our life. Each card can have anywhere from 10 to 15 different representations. The suits themselves have different representations. The major arcana, to me, being sort of the major structure and framework and the hierarchy and archetypes that we use within our general day-to-day existence. And then the minor arcana representing more so the what fills that, the substance of things. With swords representing our thoughts, the air energy around us, communication, ideas, cleverness, in branching out and bracing out into those thought patterns and how they may affect us personally, how the communication may work interactively, how we can hold on to some of those patterns and flows through the experiences of each moment. Cups representing water, emotions, feeling, connectivity, heart matters, the feelings of love, the feelings of family, the feelings of friendship, and everything in between. The concept that love is blind, the dynamic of being fooled within love, and how emotions themselves operate differently than the mental capacity. You can think something through, but you have to feel something through differently. Wands representing willpower, manifestation, creation, development, sort of that expressive thought of our capacity to put something within the world. And whether that be through force, whether that be through art, whether that be through word, expression, talk, or anything else, there's a myriad of ways that the fire energy activates to illuminate our understanding of the world and our experiences of the moment, so that we can grow within each experience as a sense of sustaining ourselves, just like you would fuel a fire. That was an interesting thought process. Pentacles representing earth energy, structure, finance, body. I always liken this one very heavily towards society, simply because society is not always an emotional thing. Society is not always a thought thing. It's a rational, logical thing. I need other people in order to survive because I probably won't be able to do everything for myself. If I try to do everything for myself, my lifespan will be shorter. So I lean very heavily on the stones and the earth energy and the pentacles to provide sort of that framework to make sure that we can logically puzzle our way through what it is to live life and experience life and understand life. It relates a lot more towards what we physically bring into the table. And while that is more tangible in a lot of ways and a lot of the placements that comes with it, the concepts underneath it all are not, and don't necessarily relate towards the emotions or anything else that's kind of going on. Now, there's 1 to 10 for each of these suits, then usually 4 court cards, the 1 to 10 representing numerologies, 1 beginning initialization through to 10 divine completion and satisfaction of the journey. The court cards and I feel very odd at times. See, I take court cards to often be representation of masculine and feminine energies, but not necessarily anything more than just the expression of the energies themselves. But there is sort of a growing element within masculine and feminine with each of them. The major arcana starts from 0 and works through until 21, typically. I've seen a few other places where they do some modifications, swapping certain card placements, but for the most part, this is the basic structure of what a tarot deck is. Now, its tool form is to be used as a method of divination. Now, how people divine will change from place to place, and I'll get into this way more in a divination episode at some point, but there's recognizing patterns, there's direct download, there's communication with spirit or something else that allows you to have the information, or there is what I would call blessed awareness. Blessed awareness is usually you were delivered a message through a divine source and you got to do what you got to do with it. I liken this the closest to the gift of word through prophecy that you would see in some Christian denominations, because it's usually something that is, do I have something for this person? No, you don't? Okay, I'm going to move on. If you do have something, yes, you're going to deliver this and you're going to deliver it this way. It's not usually something that you should be mucking around with your own way. Whereas your interaction with spirit, and I find this more with mediums and others that will connect with entities, there you're working more in a dynamic where you're conferring with a source and you're taking that information and using it in your own way. Now, the thing with conferring with sources is you got to know what your source's intentions are. If you trust your guides, you think your guides are good, then all great and fine. But if your guides keep throwing you down a well, then maybe you shouldn't be taking their information. This is where having a very deep understanding of who you are, what you are, and where the information is coming from is highly critical. I will absolutely believe that sometimes a grandma and grandpa comes to you in dreams to deliver a harsh message. But I do not think that anything that comes with a constant form of hostility or aggressiveness is a place to be taking advice from. The spirit guide that tells you things with a cheeky grin is not the spirit guide to listen to if you want to keep a non-chaotic lifestyle. Promise you that. Pattern recognition is what I try to use the most. The reason why is it doesn't require having to use another intermediate to relay information to me, but I can still confer with intermediates to decide if information should be delivered. See, here's what I'm usually doing. I lay down a set of 13 cards that works out to numerous different patterns based on geometry, thank you brain, geometry and numerology placements. Through this, I can see a number of different ways, a number of different directions for the cards to flow, and if the cards work and correlate well with their energy form, stories are explained and expressed through it. Now, if I see something that looks a little bit heavy connotation, 9 times out of 10 I'm going to go, hey divine, is this something I should be opening them up about? And 8 times out of 10 I'm told no. A lot of people like to go to the tarot readers and psychics because they want to know what amazing and wonderful transformations are coming. The problem is when you start chasing those things, you can sometimes lose control over your own destiny, and you become at the mercy of your tarot reader who is telling you the story of your life. You are not a story being read to you, you are a story being written by you. And tarot readers that give too much of that direction run the risk of controlling your life and making your life now their design and not your design. This becomes a tragedy, as it is a violation of free will, and both the tarot reader and the client will both suffer for it. This is why I use pattern recognition, because it's not me trusting in any source to give information that could be good or bad, it's me trusting a pattern in front of me. And when that pattern says, be careful, I double check with my sources. And if my sources say, sometimes you gotta let somebody learn something in their own way, you let them do it. Big decisions should be made personally. You shouldn't come, if you want to go to your priest and ask, should I get married and should I have a child? By all means, but it shouldn't be a yes or no question. It should be let's have a conversation about this. Otherwise, your will is subject to influence in negative and hostile ways. Pattern recognition we talked about, sources we talked about, divine sources we talked about. There's one that I'm missing. This is why I'm doing these videos and then redoing them again later on, because that way if I miss something I can come back to it. But without further ado, head on over to the Major Arcana video next, and we'll start talking about the cards.